Sports on Air.
Kamusta Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao? Ito na naman po tayo sa Sports on Air, and this time this is a special episode of Foul Counted where we will be featuring PBA players, and right now we have here with us from Northport Barang Pierre, a PBA mythical team of 2019 and the current defensive player of the year, Sean Anthony. How are you, buddy?
Kamusta? Yeah, I'm doing good. Glad to see you guys. You know, it's always nice to interact socially through Zoom or whatnot in these times. So good to see everyone's doing well and looks good.
Okay, this program is brought to you by the PBA YouTubers. You have Admin LA, Agon Hoops, Hoop Junkie, Hoop Highlights, PH Sports Bureau, W Hoops Play, PH, W Game Pay, PH, Basketball Page Rev, 3B Hoops, and Hottest 5 PH. And we would like to commend Hottest 5 PH. He has a tremendous following as well. And he's a frontliner, Sean.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your service. Wow.
So he is a frontliner at the same time he is a YouTuber. And I'm joined right now from Dugout Philippines, Ivan Saldaeno, who looks like an android and a ninja. Kamusta naman signal mo dyan? And from Bri Boy Sports Huddle, Brian Yalong. Hello, Brian.
Hello, good afternoon. Hi, Sean.
Hey, how are you doing, Brian?
But before anything, we would like to thank our sponsor for this episode, MJ's Cafe Bar. They sent us this special carbonara.
I think I should send Sean also.
Yeah, you should. Special carbonara. And if you want to,
some Wii boxing or something.
and if you want to avail for some of their treats, you can check out MJ's Cafe Bar and Catering Events on Facebook. And you can order Chinese style pork asado. You can have some vegetables delivered to you anywhere as long as there is Grab. And thank you very much for that. And we will be eating a carbonara, and they will be sending Sean as well the carbonara. But anyway, without further ado, Sean, how are you doing right now? I mean, how are you treating this pandemic so far?
I mean, originally it was a little difficult to stay active and healthy as an athlete. We weren't allowed outside the gate in our house, even though, like you, I live in a village. I wasn't allowed to go walking on the street or whatnot. So at first it was just about finding ways to stay fit at home. So built a little home gym at home and then whatnot. But now as we're in GCQ and thankfully the PBA has gotten all the approvals to start our first step into practice, which is that 4-on-4 guys in a gym shooting around, whatnot. We're looking forward to that, like really looking forward to that, hopefully next week after we get some testing done. So, I mean, there's light at the end of the tunnel, it looks like. So it's exciting right now, I guess you could say, for us looking to step back onto the basketball court.
Okay, one thing about being a basketball player is that, of course, you have to prepare yourself mentally. And even without games, you have to be laser-like focused on the game. How do you do that? Maybe some players do NBA 2K or whatever, so just to keep their mind on the game. So how do you keep your focus on the game?
For me, it was analyzing old tapes, like game tapes from last year, finding like holes and weaknesses in my game that I could work on this break, and just kind of breaking down a lot of things mentally, like where I can improve and whatnot, and just kind of trying to take this time to build back like little pieces of my game and little adjustments. Using this time the best way I can, I guess.
Okay, Sean, give it us. What is your favorite video to watch right now of yourself during this pandemic? Which game?
Myself? Which game? Oh, I mean, it's always fun just to watch highlights of yourself or whatnot. But you learn a lot by the games you struggled in
Okay.
and whatnot. So uh, I I can't tell you one specific game, but obviously the triple overtime game was fun to watch
Which
and
was
whatnot.
this? Uh,
The NLEX twice to beat disadvantage game.
okay.
Um, but yeah, it was more looking at some of our losses, like what could we have improved on, or what when I was struggling, what kind of things could I have done better and whatnot, and analyzing it from that
Mhm.
perspective or whatnot.
Okay, first question here, Brian.
Yeah. Well, Sean, I've known you to be very particular about your health and the food intake. Now,
Hmm.
given this pandemic, has it been a struggle for you?
Uh, food wise,
Food wise, everything about, I mean, keeping yourself in shape. Your
um, I mean, it's how do you say it hasn't been the easiest road, but one of my mottos is just control what you can control, right? There's a lot of things going on that you can't control, but uh, fortunately, uh, being blessed in an opportunity where I can still go to the grocery store, we still have access to fresh produce, fresh meats, and whatnot. In terms of nutrition, my wife's been pretty on it as well. So what I eat is still on point almost daily. It's more the outlet of training that I've really had to adjust, right? Like how do I keep up certain conditioning or strength factors and at home, and even then, that's what I was saying. Like I built out some home gym stuff, ordered equipment, custom made some weights and free weights and whatnot, so can stay at optimal shape.
all right.
Uh, n- Not many people know that your wife owns a Jollibee franchise. So no Jollibee at home. I mean, during the pandemic, does she
Once in
feed
a
you
while,
Jollibee or whatever?
once in a while, yeah, we'll have the Jollibee over. Chicken joy's chicken joy. You gotta enjoy what you eat.
And we hope we get that sponsor as well in one of our shows.
I'll see. I'll see. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, man. But anyway, right now, when the season was halted,
Hmm.
you guys were coming in Northport, Badang Pierre. Okay,
Hmm.
looking at your lineup, if you guys were all healthy, Christian, Robert, I mean, you got a good squad. I
Hmm.
mean, how do you feel about the potential of that team, especially right now that the pandemic prevented us from seeing that potential so far?
Well, you try and look on the bright side, right, of every unfortunate situation, and one of the bright sides is we might actually have Robert Bullock back, right?
Hmm.
He's been doing his rehab. He sends me his workouts sometimes and photos, and he looks like he's in the best shape of his life. Like he's really been focused. He's leaned out. He's been on point with his strength training, and so if we could have him back, then Jonathan Gray might be back too after the patellar injury. I think
Yeah.
Brad Ginto was already. So we've been able to get a lot of our key guys healthy again, and so we'll actually, if we resume, we'll be playing the all Filipino almost at full strength, because I think uh, everyone. I think Kev actually just had foot surgery, so what we want, we'll have everyone but Kevin Ferrer healthy, basically.
Mm.
So, or at least I hope their rehab is at that timeline.
Okay, Sean. We want to go back. I mean, way back.
Yeah.
Way back. Not much has been documented prior to you coming to the PBA. We just searched about. Okay, you came from Canada, McGill College. Talk us through those years in college, and what were your. I mean, what was the position you're playing? How different were you back then? What was Sean Andy before coming to the PBA?
Before coming to the PBA, so coming out of high school, I didn't really have any scholarship offers really. So one school that recruited me was McGill University, and that's like the top academic school in Canada, right? So it's considered the Harvard of Canada. So one of the reasons I was able to be recruited there at that point was because my grades were high enough to be accepted. So they gave me a shot. I went there, and I developed. So same kind of situation. If I came into the PBA and I wasn't skilled and I just kind of had the raw hustle and athleticism, the same situation kind of was at McGill. I came in really unrefined at all. Like I couldn't really do anything. So they gave me a shot, and I developed over the years there, and became like a QSF All-Star, first team All-Star. I think I won Defensive Player of the Year one time over there as well, and MVP of our team multiple times. So I think I had a good overall career in the CIS, the Canadian Basketball League.
Okay, but Sean, according to there's a question here from 3B Hoops. What were the difference and similarities of basketball in Canada and in the Philippines?
Similarities. So some of the similarities would be that unlike let's play NCAA Division I basketball or whatnot, the CIS doesn't have that many like 7-footers or that huge size, you know, that the NCAA would have, right? So similar to the PBA, where like your centers are in the 6'6" to 6'8" range, you know, maybe one or two June Mars, where, you know, like a guy's, you know, 7 foot. But overall, so I actually did play a power forward position in college as well. So the size factor was very similar. Differences: Canada is a hockey country. They don't well, when I was, at least, after Steve Nash and whatnot. Now Canada we have a lot of guys in the NBA now, right? We've had, but when I was playing, no one really watched basketball. So it was games where we would have 20 to 30 people, and then you come to a sold out Araneta game or whatnot. That was one of the biggest differences, was the passion that Filipinos have for basketball, and it was really nice and to see that coming in. I wasn't expecting that at all.
So growing up, you learned how to play ice hockey.
I played ice hockey before. I didn't play basketball till I was in high school. So I was ice hockey, track and field, rugby, soccer. I played a lot of other sports before I played basketball, actually.
Okay. Now, Brian, you have a question there? Wala pa. Tahimik pa si Brian. But anyway, how did basketball come in? I mean, those are sports that you can enjoy. You can build on soccer. Okay. Ice hockey. If ice hockey is the main game of Canada, you could have went all the way. Maybe you have the height to go to the NHL or whatever. Okay. So how did basketball come into your life?
So originally in the or not NHL, originally with hockey, growing up, it's a really expensive sport, right? You have skates, pads, so you have skates, shin pads, padded shorts, jock strap, shoulder pads, elbow pads, gloves, helmet, and just for example, a skate, like a pair of basketball shoes is 5,000 pesos, but a pair of hockey skates would be 30,000 pesos probably, right? So imagine you growing through hockey skates, how expensive an sport it is. So it was just too expensive to continue to play hockey. Then I went to a school that didn't actually have sports. So I stopped. I just ran track basically in a club program throughout elementary school. And it wasn't until I went to high school with a high school that had sports that I started playing basketball. And that was because all my friends were on the basketball team. So I just gave it a shot, and I wanted to do a sport that my friends were playing, and I tried out for the basketball team.
Okay. Another question here, Sean, from 3B Hoops. Vince Carter has already retired in the NBA. And do you think Vince changed the landscape of basketball in Canada? and made you think that you want to play basketball because of Vince, because Tristan Thompson said that Vince is like the Michael Jordan of Canada.
uh, Vince Carter was huge. He was one of my favorite players for sure. So when I started playing, the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors were the two expansion teams, right? And we had Vince Carter in Toronto, which is where uh, that he made Toronto. There's even the documentary on it on Netflix,
Yeah.
right? And he was huge for Canada basketball. But I grew up in Vancouver on the West Coast, which is the same province where Steve Nash was from. So for me, Steve Nash was more of the one that developed the game, and he gave back a lot of grassroots programs. So I think he really developed the grassroots culture of basketball in Canada. While Vince Carter kind of, I think, brought out the swag and the like those elements to making basketball cool in Canada, right? Like he brought. I mean, he goes down as the best dunker of all time, right? So he brought that flair, he brought that flavor, and he just made basketball super exciting in Canada. And I still remember the dunk contest he won. Like we had a weekend tournament going on, and we all raced to a TV at a friend's house between games, and he did all those crazy dunks. And
it is still the best slam dunk competition that I ever saw in the NBA.
yeah, as a young kid, it blew my mind. Like like that someone could actually do those things. So
you know what really during that time I was also watching it. What really struck me is not that the 360 dunk, it's the way he hanged his arm. It's like, okay, the 360 dunk was whoa, yeah, but the one that he hanged with his arm just made you silent.
well,
That's
you
me.
remember back then there was no YouTube, there was no social media, right? So a lot of like the street dunks that you see now, no one's ever seen. So when that dunk contest happened, those were just dunks no one has ever seen in before, right? I didn't even know someone could grab it between the legs off a bounce alley oop, right? That one was what blew my mind too. But now you see all these professional dunkers in the NBA dunk contest.
Yeah.
As but back then that was just like he took it from here to he added that
that flavor.
Yeah, like a professional dunking flavor to the NBA dunk contest.
Okay, Ivan, you have a question?
So good afternoon, Sean. Yeah. So you already mentioned Steve Nash. So how did he inspire you to play basketball?
Man, he was a huge inspiration for me. So he grew up in the same province. He'd come back to Vancouver, and he would have like his Steve Nash camps or whatnot. And for me, it was more like even today, like you look at my game, it's like unrefined, right? It's not, but it's just a lot of effort, right? So for Steve Nash, it was just, he would always talk about the hours and preparation he put into his game just to improve. And, he was never the most athletic. He was never, all this. It's just like he had to find what fit for him and create basically a role for him. So I always looked at his work ethic, his ability to, take himself from, a boy from BC into two-time MVP in the NBA, right? So he always served as a huge inspiration and whatnot, yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you find your game still unrefined. So how do you compensate for that?
Oh, I mean, that's the stuff I'm trying to work on now, right? So I've developed a three-point shot. I've learned to dribble the ball a little better, right? But it's still a lot of pounding and physicality, right? So I'm trying to work on scoring a little more efficiently, or just finding ways to be a threat or an option to create options for other teammates, right? Without, how do you say it, forcing things too much, right? So just a lot smoother and a lot more flow.
So do you see that as somewhat too late since you're already 34 years old and you're just you're refining the game right now?
No, I always feel like you can become better as a player, and even let's say on the let's say you start declining, you can adapt to find different ways to contribute, right? I still feel like I'm at towards the peak, and I'm not on the back end yet. I'm still going forward. So yeah, I'm just trying to find ways to be more efficient and ways to just become a better player. Yeah.
Okay, Sean. I want to ask, what was the recruitment pitch for you to play in the PBA? I mean, how did that happen? I mean, you could have you could have stayed in Canada, pursue yourself there. But how did you come to the PBA, and who were responsible for doing that to you?
So I was actually playing in the Canadian Professional League, and then I got a email to go to inviting me to Las Vegas for the Gilas One training camp. So that's with Coach Raiko. I think Noli Ala was in charge of the team back then. So they invited me to come down to Vegas and to try out, and that's what I did. And during that tryout, they asked me to fly back with them to Manila because I had that summer off, and then
Okay.
I had a half a semester of school left. So flew out to Manila and I trained. I did 3 days here with them preparing for the Jones Cup. We flew to Japan for scrimmages. I played in the Japan little pocket thing we had, and then yeah, that's when I got introduced to the PBA, the PBL, the Liga Pilipinas, and all the different leagues here. And yeah, so anyways, I went back for my last semester of school, and then when I came back, they had filled the Gilas position with Marcio, Chrysolitz, and whatnot. So that's when I made my way towards the PBA.
Okay, so
After that.
this was interesting. You were almost part of the Gilas Pilipinas 1.0.
Well, I guess in a sense you could say I was part of it because I was on the squad, but just for a couple months, right? I didn't
Okay.
actually play in the FIBA sanctioned game. So I never played so the games I played in Japan were considered exhibition or something. So I'm not eligible the way Marcio or like Chris Litz or Gabe, they all played in uh, FIBA sanctioned actual games before that FIBA ruling came in place.
Okay, your first impressions of Filipino basketball. I mean, you guys were playing with, of course, looking back, Marshall, Greg, those guys were the JV Casio, all veterans right now in the PBA. But looking back, okay, who were your? I mean, who were your first friends over at Gilas 1.0, and maybe tell us some stories about that team during those days.
For sure. So uh, Chris Chu is actually a family friend. So his father and my mother were kind of grew up together and not neighbors, but lived pretty close to each other in the same village. So they knew each other. And so when I was trying out, my mom said, "Oh, get in touch with Chris Chu when you're there and whatnot." And I did, and he was a big support system for me early on. Living in the same village, he would uh, pick me up and bring me to practice every day. But then he was so busy with all his different TV shows and photo shoots and whatnot. After practice, JV Casio would drive me home. So,
So it's a different driver.
well, yeah, I didn't know how to get around with the public transportation system and stuff. Although I did take the MRT and the jeepneys and whatnot when they were busy. But yeah, so usually Chris would take me to practice and home if he didn't have something, but he was always busy. So JV would drive me, and I would hang out a lot with Dylan Ababu because we were roommates in Vegas. So I got to know Dylan Ababu pretty well in Vegas. So we'd go watch some of the PBL games together and whatnot while we were playing Gilas.
After that, you were about to enter the PBA draft, and what were the expectations from you? I mean, how were you approaching the draft during that time?
It was an interesting draft year that year because I think that's when the PBL had folded, right?
Yeah.
So I had little to no exposure coming in. All the people knew was I got cut from Gilas 1, right? So going into it, I tried to play the Ligas Filipinas league, but I was just a red shirt because of the paperwork stuff. You were only allowed, I think, one Phil-Am per team, and so I was redshirted. So I didn't have any exposure. I wasn't on any pre-draft, what is it?
Pre-draft workouts, combines.
No, mock drafts. I wasn't on any mock drafts, right? So you know
Okay.
how they would have. There's only 2 rounds then. There wasn't unlimited, right? So I wasn't on a mock draft. I wasn't on all of that. So I was just through everything had to go well at the PBA draft camp. So I think I won a lot of the strength and conditioning workouts, which kind of put into started the ball rolling with people noticing like, oh, he's strong, he's physical, and then I played really well, and then I guess I got noticed during the scrimmages, right, and I was surprised that I got picked 6th in the end, but it was just pre-draft camp gone well, I guess you could say.
Okay, Brian, you have a question?
Yeah, just curious, Sean. When you started basketball, I mean, what was your focus when you first tried the sport? I mean, were you a scorer, a defender, a rebounder, or what?
So I started playing in high school, as I mentioned,
Mhm.
and basically the whole point was that was what my friends were doing.
Scoring?
So no, my friends were playing basketball, so that was the whole goal, was just to hang out with my friends,
All
basically.
right.
But my role definitely was just a role. I had 0 skills, right? That's literally the first time I picked up a basketball. So it was just, like you said, defense and rebounding, right?
Right.
And so I guess almost in every stage of my career, my skills have trailed my I guess my hustle and that. So that's always been my role. Like I when I mentioned I went to university, that was my role. And as I came into Powerade, my rookie year, that was my role as well, right? So it's like my skill set always had to catch up to and I just kind of created a spot for myself always through hustle, hard work, and defense, and then let everything else follow.
Okay, prior to the draft, did you get any uh, team invites to work out with them?
Nope.
As in none. Wow.
No.
I
I
mean,
don't
Were
know
you
if
able
I
to?
don't know if that was a thing
Yeah.
back then, but it wasn't really no one mentioned. Yeah.
Brian, you were saying?
Yeah, just asking if were you able to play with any Filipinos that during that time?
When in
When
high
you were
school.
about high school about to move to the Philippines.
No, but in university, I joined our Filipino cultural club. So it's called Mufasa. So I think it's McGill University Filipino Asian Society,
Okay.
or something along those lines. And so I met a lot of Filipinos. Then I started playing in like the Filipino community leagues, and then that's where I started to make friends and whatnot. And I had a few friends try to make it to the PBA, but I think in the process they uh, during the PBL stage, that's where they slipped through and they didn't quite make it all the way. So there was no Filipino Canadians when I entered the league. I think I think there was one before me, but when I entered, I was the only Filipino Canadian in the league. So I didn't have a lot of connection to other than people telling me how they struggle to try and make it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm jotting something here now. Since you mentioned earlier that you consider yourself overlooked uh, in your draft stock, are you surprised that you still made the first round?
Yes and no, because in one sense, I really believe that I deserved to be in the first round. Like I thought, like when I compared myself to the different players, I was like, I'm a better player than them, but I just didn't get that. You know what I'm saying? Like you look at the mock drafts, I wasn't on there. You look at other things, I wasn't. So I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I really wasn't sure. But when it happened, I was pleasantly surprised, and I felt the way I played in the draft camp. I was gonna, yeah, something was gonna happen. I don't know. Yeah.
And looking at that draft class, Sean, if there is a reset on that draft class, to be honest, you're gonna go number one.
I agree.
You're gonna go number one. I mean,
Thanks, guys.
look at the
So
lineup that you have here.
if you look at the list, I mean, a lot of them are no longer around.
Like, yeah.
Okay, Sean, Ivan, you have a follow up?
Actually, I have a follow-up. Since you were supposed to be, you were drafted by by the original Air 21 franchise, but you ended up playing with Powerade. So what did the two teams tell you about that trade?
It was a situation where Powerade wanted me, and I think at that draft, Air 21 had the 1, 2, 3, and 6 pick, right? If you look, I think it was
Yes.
Noy, Raba, and Ray were Air 21, and then I was the 6th at Air 21. But Powerade had made it known to Air 21 if it could get me at the 6th pick to draft me, and then they would make a trade for me, and I was available at the 6th pick, so I was drafted by Air 21, and that same within a few hours, I think it was on the way home, that I had a U-turn and make my way to dinner at Abe Filipino restaurant in Sarandra, where the whole Powerade team was, and meet them. So it was the same draft night that the trade went down.
Okay, Sean. Go ahead, Ivan. Okay na. Okay, Sean. Looking back at that, there's a question here from Hoops Highlights. Let me read it. How was the experience of being in that short but historic playoff run of Powerade Tigers? And best memories. You guys had a squad. I mean, Gary David that time, and Marshall was a young stud. JV is also part of that team. Run us through that team that you guys made a historic run during that time.
It was a great experience. I think we were all so close, not just on the court but off the court, right? We were all tightly bonded. All our like my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, was close to all the other wives, and like Marcia's wife, JV's now wife. They were all super close, right? So we would eat meals together after games. We would kind of hang out off the court. So it was a really tight knit family like bond that we all had, and it still goes to this day. And that experience was super cool because I think that's kind of when I found also my role, right, on that team and where I could be effective, because that's when Coach Bo switched me to the 4 position, and he's like, look, just play defense I remember that the first series was BMEG. He's like, play defense on Kirby Mamindo. That's your only goal, is just to like shut him down, rebound, and then of course at the 4 position it was just set thousands and thousands of screens for Gary David to get him open, right? So It was a super streamlined, easy role, and I'm just grateful to have been on that squad for sure.
When you entered the draft, I mean, were there any expectations on your part? Like, did you have any team that you preferred to join or anything like that?
For me, it was just making it. It was just, I just gotten cut from Gilas One. I was the red shirt on the Liga Filipinas team. So it was like, how am I just going to make the league? That was the only thing on my mind, was just get your foot in the door and then make it happen. So I was happy to play on any team in the league, and just my goal was just to get in the league. That's it.
Okay, this is the question that we always throw to all the guests here. Okay, in your first days in the PBA during the game, who was the guy who busted your ass? First guy that busted your ass in the court.
First guy to bust. So I always joke around. It was our first scrimmage game, and that was our first tune-up game. Sorry, and it was against San Miguel Beer.
Okay.
And I had to guard Don Hontiveros, right? So
Okay.
it was just, I don't know, one of those days maybe where he was on fire. But he caught his first shot, and I was just slightly trailed on a three, and then he just knocked down that three, and then he knocked down shot after shot after that. And I think he had maybe 20 points on me maybe in the first quarter or something like that. And I didn't know that was just like a hot day for him or whatnot.
And
So
you're,
I thought he was
taller than
like,
him. I mean,
yeah, I thought he was like I was like, oh my, like how am I even going to play in this league? I can't. This guy's hitting every single shot on me, and that was kind of a wake up moment. But then if you ask like who's a guy that would constantly teach me lessons on the court, I would say it was Renadel Del Campo.
okay.
Like when I came in, that's I guess kind of when RDO was at his prime, and that's when Talking Tex was winning all the championships, and having to guard him and his shiftiness, his ability to space out and everything. Like every time I matched up with him, he was a tough guy to defend.
Okay, looking back at RDO's game, it's very simple but effective.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's how do you like prepare for someone like RDO? Is it like a cerebral battle for you?
Well, back then, yeah, I wasn't sure what I could do. You know, he was physically stronger than me in the post, and then I was such a good shooter that I had to crowd him a little bit off the line. As I grew into it, it was over the years. It was more me building up strength. I think I was less than 200 pounds when I came into the league, so I had to pack on a bunch of muscle and strength to be able to hold my own with the power forwards in the league. So that was my first step. Then studying his move, right? Because a lot of his little shifts are unorthodox or moves that I haven't seen.
Not even in Canada.
Not in Canada, yeah, right. So like I remember like the first time he does this move where he spins this way, but instead of a regular fadeaway, he spins one way and then he jumps the other way and does like a side fadeaway. And I remember the first time he pulled that move on me, I didn't even know what happened. I was like, what was that? So I would watch his tape. And then actually right after, I think it was my third year, I actually was traded to Talking Tex, and I got a chance to play with RDO. And he was a big mentor for me. And then I kind of tried to copy him. I was like, look, if I can kind of defend the way I can and develop an ability to shoot the ball from the perimeter like him, maybe I can be that kind of stretch four position and that'll give me an advantage because while I'm shorter, I'm probably faster than the average four, right? So if I can shoot the ball and be that stretch four. So I learned a lot, and I kind of try to steal some of RDO stuff. Although I can't master those little side fadeaways and stuff like he does.
Ryan, question there?
Follow-up question to who busted your ass. Who is the worst trash talker that you first came into it?
For the who trash talks the most, like the
Worst for you.
worst.
Oh wait,
Uh,
the first and then the worst. The first one who tried to trash talk to you.
well, my very first game was against Rain or Shine.
Mhm.
So our first game, and then my matchup was Saul Mercado, and
Okay.
that's when they had the fire and ice with him and Gabe, right? So he kind of came out, and then right away Saul started talking, and then I was like, oh, okay, like, and I guess at that time he had that reputation, so he was definitely the first, like, very first play, like, he's like, who is this guy? You know, they got a rookie guarding me or whatnot, and so. Uh, Yeah, so that was the first. The most,
Yeah.
probably Calvin Abueva. Like, he just
Oh.
talks and throws and blah 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 and just does stuff. Maybe it's not so much talking, but he's always doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Just like Bo Belga.
Oh yeah, Bo Belga talks a lot too. Yeah.
Look, he said that Calvin is the worst.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, you actually bounce from one team to another every year, and Brian, you have an interesting question there.
Yeah, Sean. I just after your Power 8 run,
Mhm.
I noticed when you played for Red Bull, TNT, Air 21, and Meralco. No, you only had a year to stay with the teams.
Mhm.
Wasn't it a bit frustrating that you couldn't adopt or get stay in one particular team and had to adjust to another team in those during those years?
Yeah, it was a little frustrating, and it was always trying to find myself and whatnot, and what was really frustrating was every time I was traded, let's say from like Talking Tex and from Morocco and whatnot, it was usually the Phil-Am rule. So they would. I remember Talking Tex. I think we had 8 Phil-Ams, right? So uh, we had to sit 3 guys. So I remember I think Ali Peak, Harvey, and Rob Reyes were sitting every game. So they're like, look, we need to bring in a local guy. So they traded me for KG, so we wouldn't have to sit guys. And then the same thing happened on Morocco. They they brought in Jimmy Alapag, and then they brought in Chris Newsom, and then they were like, okay, they looked through the lineup. Okay, we're just going to trade Sean. So it was twice that I was looked at as the Phil Am to be traded or whatnot on those teams, you know. But yeah, like, he was finding a role, and I you know, I thought I found a little bit at NLEX, and then when Coach Yang came in, he changed things up, and then I feel like
Yeah.
I found it here I felt I found it at Powerade, and then they sold it, and then I felt I found it at NLEX, and then they changed, and then now I feel like I found a good situation again with Coach Pito and management here at Northport, and really enjoying. I think it's been over 2 years with them now, so yeah.
Okay, Sean, with playing with Coach Yang, he is known to bring players to the next level. How was he as a coach? And yeah, talk us about that experience with NLEX. I mean, that was the time that your numbers blew up. I mean, we were like, okay, who's this guy is up and coming already.
With Coach Yang, his philosophy is obviously like, shoot the ball if you're open, right? So that was kind of like one of the first times I had a coach yell at me for not shooting the ball. Right? He's like, look, you gotta. That's his philosophy, right? Is you look at Rain or Shine, you look at NLEX now. It's like everyone has to develop as a player to
Okay.
be able to shoot the 3-point ball, especially at the 4 position. So he was the one that uh, really got on me to work on my 3-point shot, and just to take it, so that he was like, right now you're a slasher that can shoot threes. He's like, I need you to be a 3-point shooter that can slash. And so that's when I started working, and then I guess it's started to develop now into what it is now here when I'm at Northport. And Coach Pito, being a shooter in his career, gives me the same green light just to like look like if you're open, so.
Okay, Sean, give it to us. The first Yang Jiao experience. I mean, you heard the stories, you
Mhm.
heard what he's like, but for that first instance you got the Yang Jiao experience.
I don't think it's the story that you're gonna want and think. But I always had altercations with Coach Yang on the court, right? Like,
Okay.
I was one of the guys he liked to yell at and try and whatever, and I kind of bump him on the sideline when I'm running back or something like that when he was on Rain or Shine. But when his first day of practice, he's actually one of the nicest guys. He doesn't have it's different in practice. Who he is in practice and who he is game day, it's two different people. So that was my shock. He came into practice and he's like, "Hey guys," like blah 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 blah. I was like, "That's not the fiery guy always yelling at me, swear words every second word." So that was my first Coach Yang experience. It's like, whoa, he's completely different than who he is on the court. Like, he's a much different person.
Okay, is he the best trash talking coach that you ever heard, or you had other coaches do trash talks to you?
Best trash
And other-
talking coach. I don't know. He's definitely the loudest. He definitely says the most and swears the most.
Were there other things that Coach Yang improved in you so that to what you have become right now?
Other things? No, I there's been so many coaches. They've all impacted me, different ways, and I think that's one of my blessings is being able to have played for a bunch of different coaches. I pick up little bits and pieces here and there and whatnot from all of them. So, like I said, my thing with Coach Yang was he's like, you really need to shoot three ball. Like, you need to be a shooter that can slash rather than a slasher that can shoot. So that was the biggest thing I took away from him. And I don't think there's much I learned a lot about his philosophies and stuff and what he likes to run over at Rain or Shine, but now NLEX, but that doesn't really translate to what we do at Northport. Two different systems. So.
Okay, Sean. Now that you are in Northport, Batang Pierre. Okay, of course I know the guys, everyone there. The first practice in Northport, the experience so far.
What do you mean? My first practice?
Yes, of course. Who were the first people that welcomed you there and gave you the big warm welcome to
Well, it
Northport?
was Global
Yeah,
Port.
Global Port. Yeah.
When it was like 2 years ago, and it was right in the middle of the season. Right, I think there's 3 games left, so I think we had to win all 3 to make the playoffs. So right away, it was Coach Franz was the first person. He really traded for me because we had the Air 21 experience with him. That was kind of my breakout season, and we upset Patron with the twice to beat advantage to make it. And we eventually lost in Game 5 of the semis to, I think, San Mig Coffee in their Grand Slam year. So because we had a pretty good experience together, he traded for me and brought me over and welcomed me with open arms. And then, of course, there was Stanley, Mick Panisi, Terrence, Mike Cortez. There was a lot of guys. But I think that the team kind of went through a restructuring, and the only guys left from then is Bradwin Ginto and Jonathan Gray, right? Then we were the guys that came there together, right? We were all part of that trade.
And after a year, you proved to yourself, and after a year and a half, the Northport is like going to you right now for veteran guidance. And looking back at your career, Sean, you're always this underrated player, underrated in the draft, underrated in Powerade. Okay, everything is underrated. But during your run here in 2019, you finally we were for those who watch the games mostly live, us media reporters watching you is like, hey, this guy is really working hard, but it's not getting much credit. Okay, so how did that come to your mind? Being that, I mean, most of your career you were the underdog.
Um, I didn't mind it. I think having an underdog mentality uh, helped me in a sense, right? There was never a lack of motivation, I guess you could say, to get better. I could always find something to motivate me if I wasn't. So it's kind of helped me along my career, I think, and whatnot. So I guess it's kind of been a blessing, right? I always look at the best out of every situation, right? So, yeah.
And but it's not you're not an underdog right now. You actually you're the maximum contract. That means, hey, we're gonna build with this guy for the next few years. And I saw the picture. Coach Bonnie posted it. Big smile with him on the side. Okay, when Northport was offering you that, what came to your head after all these years being traded from one team to another? Northport is giving you that home that you always wanted.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's actually kind of a nice story because it's almost like full circle, right? So before Northport, before Globalport, this was actually Powerade. So it's like I kind of went around and I came back home, right? And I'm just thankful for the opportunities from Boss Bonnie and management and whatnot, and their trust in me and the Coach Pito and the coaching staff as well and the players. So I think we have a unique situation to build something here, and especially with the young guys that we got, like a guy like Robert Bolick and whatnot. And we just got a couple good guys out of the draft, so I'm excited to see how they develop and whatnot. So, just super thankful and super grateful for everything that Northport's provided. Yeah, and it definitely feels like a home. So,
Okay, Brian, you have a question there? Wala, ayaw niya magtanong. Anyway, I'm gonna read the questions right here from Freebie Hoops. Who is the hardest player to guard in the PBA?
Right now, Stanley Pringle, I think. He's explosive. He can score inside out. He's quick and he's skilled. And yeah, I mean, I had to guard him every day in practice. So
Even seeing him up close, what makes Stanley Pringle that good? I mean, give us that microscope view of course, why did he become that good?
He's got a God-given natural speed, athleticism, and whatnot, and then he's combined that with a highly skilled set. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can get where he wants, and he's actually kind of one of the strongest players as well in terms of physical strength, right? So when he gets into the lane, he can really bump you off. Like you might not notice it, but when you guard him and you go up against him and he hits you with the bump before he does his little cross hop step, he can create a lot of space for himself to score in the lane, combined with his ability to shoot the ball and dribble. He can do it in all almost. Yeah.
Okay, right. From PH Sports Bureau, you were given 2 years contract extension by Northport. Do you see yourself retiring with this team and call it a career?
At the end of these 2 years, I mean, no.
Maybe forever, never, as long as they extend you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Northport is my home, and I have a great relationship with everyone here, so I hope to continue with them through the years, and I feel like I'm just scraping the top of towards the peak, so I have a good years left in me. So I feel like another contract or two after this. So yeah, but hopefully with Northport, yeah.
Okay, if given the chance, again from PH Sports Bureau, if given a chance, are you willing to accept a coaching job after your basketball career? Have you looked into it?
I mean, I've thought about it. I've Boss Bonnie also does the Tron, right? So I've kind of supported them a little bit, and you know, talked to some of the kids there, and maybe help out a little bit in practice, kind of like what LA Tenorio's been doing. Other than that, I haven't really thought of it. I'm just kind of focused on my career right now, and I'm not sure. I love the game and probably want to stick with it, but I'm pursuing a lot of different business opportunities, I guess, and studying business as well. So, not quite sure where I will venture to after basketball, but yeah.
How about broadcast?
Broadcasting? I don't know. I have a lot of respect.
Like Paul Pierce, Kendrick Perkins, what they're doing right now.
I mean, Ali Peak's doing a good job, right?
Yeah.
Who else? Who are the other players? Are there any other players in broadcasting?
There's Benji Paras.
Oh yeah,
Rory Magsano, they're doing it.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I'm just kind of focused still on the basketball that's at hand. You know.
Okay.
I have a lot of respect for what you know, like you guys do as well. There's a lot of planning and preparation and everything that goes in.
And we go home late, as you know.
Yeah, I know. You're the last ones at the arena.
And okay, if you're gonna build a team of 5 right now to get to a basketball game, and it has to be someone you played in your career. Okay, if you're gonna put yourself in I don't know if you're gonna put yourself on a 3 or a 4. It's up to you. Who are these 5 players that you're gonna bring to you with in this special game?
I'm just gonna bring my teammates right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got our who are our starting. So we'll have Robert Bullock, Christian, Kelly. I'll probably play the 3, and then let's say who should we put at the 2? Garvo. There we go. That's our
Brian, follow up on that.
Sure.
Wala pa rin? Oh.
Wait. One more question. Nakalimutan ko.
Okay, sige.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
you're known as according to Page Bureau, you're known as a do-it-all player. But in the PBA, can you name like 3 players that are the best hustle players aside from you?
Best hustle players. Calvin Ababa is for sure. He's there. Guys that work. Hold on. Wow, that's drawing a blank for some reason. I guess the PBA hasn't been playing that much, right? So
it's Calvin.
Calvin, Cliff Hodge.
Okay.
He works hard.
Yeah.
And I was teammates with him. One guy that I like and he works hard and he plays defense and he's doing is Rome De La Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, when I was doing my ankle rehab, I got to spend some time with him and I've been watching him and he really works hard to try and you know, do his role. Like he matches up with me when we play usually. So he physical. He tries to get all the rebounds and just do his role on the offensive side. So he's a good hustle guy as well.
Brian?
Yeah.
You remember the question?
Yes. Aside from Junmar, who are the players that you've had difficulty guarding in the PBA?
At this point in time, right now,
Yes.
well, Jumar is obviously way too big for me to guard, and those guys
I
that
usually say it's Junmar. I don't. I'm taking him out.
Usually like being the really big guys like Jumar or Greg or you know like Asi, Christian, those kind of guys like they're just too physically big, for me. But if you're going into the perimeter guys, like I said, Stanley's probably the hardest guy to defend. Jason Castro, he's quick. He can shoot the ball. He's super shifty. Who else? In terms of a 3 or 4, Paul Lee. Paul Lee always has another, like, coming off the ball screen. He always has some kind of option. So it's really being in a synchronicity with the other player that you're guarding with to follow your pick and roll rule. Because when he can come off and shoot it, or he can create, or he finds little angles and gaps off that pick and roll really well. Yeah, there's a lot of good players. I'm trying to go by position. Let's say at the power forward, Vic Manuel.
Vic Manuel.
He's super strong, and he just has an unbelievable mid-range touch, right? Like he does that little hook shot. He has the mid-range jumper, and he's strong. His finishing ability is there as well. So I guess positionally, those are the guys.
All right.
Okay, best import that you played with.
Best import that I've played with. Wow. I mean, Prince eBay last year was by far the best defender I've ever played with, and he made our team. I think that's the best Northport's done, right? We finished 9-2 and with a twice to beat advantage. And his length and just the way he complemented everything we did as a team, I think he was the best fit for import. Definitely not as talented as other imports that I played with, but he could change every single person's shot, right? That we played against. He averaged, I think, 4 blocks a game, and what doesn't go on the stat sheet is he probably made guys miss another 20% of their shots with his by changing their shots to shoot it higher or whatnot. Not the same as like a Michael Qualls that was just like an explosive.
Yeah,
like
Michael Qualls.
Like he could shoot and jump and whatnot. But yeah, I guess Prince was the best fit for a team that I've been on.
Okay, Ivan, you have some questions.
I do. So earlier in the broadcast, you already mentioned about the triple overtime against NLEX. So recently, it was named as the game of the year by the pregame presser. So how is it like being involved in such a memorable match like that?
Well, those games are always fun, and being a knockout thing, and I think making it to the semis after that game, there's just a lot on the line, and it was a cool experience and probably one of my most memorable games. But yeah, it was just a lot of little things going. It's like my old team with there, and then we had, what was it? I think we had to win 3 games in a row to make it, and then we had to win the 2 playoff games in a row to make. So we had to win 5 games in a row to advance, basically. So it was a super intense game, and I think everyone was cramping and gasping for air by the end. But what's actually like a low-key blessing was I picked up 3 super, super ticky-tack fouls. Like, I watched the replay. They were not even, I don't know. But whatever, I got in foul trouble early, and so I had to sit out basically almost the whole first half. So I had a ton of energy coming into those overtimes. You look at some blessings in disguise. Yeah, like I was frustrated with the calls in the first half, but it turned out that being benched for the first half with foul trouble gave me a little edge in the end.
So this season your team will be entering with a very young lineup. So yeah, I think most of you were born in the 90s, and only you and Christian are the only guys born in the 80s. So, and I think even Darwin and Nete is also born in the 80s. So being the kuya of the squad, how would you see Northport moving forward this decade?
Well, I think Kelly Nabong as well is in the 80s, if I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
mistaken. So we have four guys that I guess are the Kuyas, and I think Christian, Kelly, and I are the co-captains for the team. So um, yeah, it's about getting us together and following Coach Pito's game plan and his vision for the team. And um, we, I think we came close. I mean, I was saying last conference, but that's like a year ago, almost. So we had that. We bowed out in the semis to the eventual champions in Ebra. And from that series, we learned that we really got to be on the same page defensively. Just the way they tic-tac-toed us apart on their offense and us defensively. We really have to be on the same page defensively and know full rotations and whatnot. So that I think that'll be a big part of for us to succeed would have to be all of us being on the same page defensively.
So as we all know, you're listed at 6'4", but you're defending the likes of Christian with 6'8", Japet with 6'9", both power forward. So despite being undersized, what's the secret to keeping your status as one of the best power forwards right now in the PBA, especially that you just won mythical first team honors last year?
I've put in a lot of work in the strength and conditioning part of things, as what Brian alluded to earlier. Coming in, not being as skilled, they had to put me at the 4 position, right? Just because I couldn't really dribble the ball or shoot it. So the way I kind of tried to build my game was to have the skills of a 3, but to do it in the size of like a 4. So I thought if I could be able to hold my own against the other power forwards, physically speaking, I could try and use my lack of height, but more speed and whatnot, and take them from the perimeter. So as a stretch 4, kind of like what I was learning from RDO, right? So I spend a lot of time in the weight room, building up a strong core, building up a strong base in my legs. So when I do go up against those bigger guys, while they might have the height and length over me, usually in terms of the physical strength, I can hold my own from the base down, or some of them are super talented anyways. It's just about holding my position and leading him into the proper help position, right? And rotating it with the team defense aspect.
So you mentioned earlier about you're trying to be as a 3. So has Coach Pito ever considered placing the 3 or even the 2 at this point?
Yeah. So usually when the imports come in, I shift to the 3. So that's kind of been one of my transitions over the last, couple years, is really trying to develop myself at the 3. So when imports do come in, I can be more effective as a player. So that's one of the things I've been working on, right? I might not be able to run up and down the street, but I've been able to dribble a basketball in my little carport area. So just refining my ball handling skills, just like the fundamentals of just getting the ball from a dribble to a shot pocket, stuff like that. So when the season does return, although we might not have any imports this coming season, but next year, if I move to the 3 position, or even since we have both Kelly and Christian, I might have to move to the 3 anyways if we go with a big lineup. So I'll be more comfortable.
Okay, Sean. I want to lighten up the mood a bit. Okay.
All right.
Okay. If you are gonna pick a teammate of yours, past or present, to be in a comedy bar, to stand up in a comedy bar, who would that be?
Stand up in a comedy bar
I mean,
and just tell
funniest
jokes.
teammate, I'm sure.
I think one of the funniest guys I played was actually Will Antonio, who was kind of like my veteran when I first got to Powerade, right? So I hung out with
Okay.
him a lot, and he was a funny guy. He always had stories. He was always talking and a funny guy. But if you're actually to say stand-up comedian, I might actually say Gary David. He always had a joke. Gary
He seems
somehow.
quiet in the exterior.
Right? Yeah, but when you're on the bus, like you're just sitting there. Next thing you know, he's got a box and he's pretending to sell like peanuts or something because he took it from the guy on the street. And then he always just had a joke. Gary always, yeah, he would I think be a stand-up comedian for sure.
By the way, he might be in competition with Mo. I mean, Mo.
Oh, Mo, man, yeah.
You almost forgot that guy.
Yeah. No, Mo's more an actor, I think. I think if he had to hold a stage for a stand-up comedian, he might not. But he's mastered the Instagram, TikTok, whatever, comedy and a good actor. But I don't know if he could just stand up on a stage and tell jokes all day. That's different. That's Gary for sure.
Okay, Coach Pido loves to tell stories.
Oh yeah, Coach Vito could. Yeah,
What
he
is
could be.
what is the biggest story that he told you about? Maybe the playing years that about his playing years.
Well, he always lets us know he was called the fireman, right? And anytime another team would go on a run, he'd come in and spray in a couple threes and put out the fire and whatnot. But yeah, he always stories. He talks about his time on the national team a lot, and
Okay.
he's proud to have represented the country and whatnot. So, when we talk more serious, he always alludes to the national team stuff that he did.
Have you seen any videos of him playing?
Yeah. I've seen some videos, and I watched him do the PBA Legends stuff. Right?
Okay.
He had the PBA Legends game, and he was playing, and then the next day he came in. And he was the first person in the therapy room getting massaged and iced and stuff. So we were all joking with him and whatnot.
Okay, going back and seeing Coach Pido play, how would you play with this guy?
Oh, I think it would be fun to play with Coach Vito, right? Being a shooter and a creator. I think, be it if he had the ball, creating space for him on a screen and being a threat option off of that, or if someone else had the ball to free him off of pin downs or flare screens or whatnot I think he's such a good shooter that they would have to sacrifice and tag out on him and cover him, where I might be able to slip to the basket off the screen, or he's just going to be open and catch and shoot. And so I think he would be fun to play with, and just knowing his personality, I think it'd always be light on the court, right? He's a fun guy.
He's also an enforcer.
Yeah.
He'll protect you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
After practice, does he play? Does he show you some moves? I mean, I think Stanley posted on his IG story that he has been still playing basketball with some of the folks there after practice.
Yeah. Coach Pito, sometimes the coaches and the ball boys after practice will play 5-on-5. And then at the same time, sometimes he pulls aside some guys that are struggling shooting and just teaches them how to shoot. Usually, even if he hasn't shot a ball all day, he still makes them. And he's like, "Look, see how easy it is? It's just like this." You just.
Did he ever tell you any stories about his college career?
No, not as much. No.
I suggest you ask him, because during his prime, he and Alan Kaidik were the main shooters.
I'll definitely
He carried the UST Glowing Goldies at the time. He was the one-man wrecking crew there. I believe he scored 60-plus points in one game.
Wow. Oh yeah, he never mentioned that. I'm surprised.
Ask him about that. I know that
I think it was he was telling us in the papers it was like Bird versus Magic, Harencho versus Kaidik, something
Yes.
like that.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask him that. Yeah,
He's
Okay,
gonna be happy telling you that story.
I'm sure.
has anyone tried to play pustahan with a three-point shot with Coach Pido?
Yeah, Coach Peter always, we always play little games with Coach Peter in the shooting games. Half court shots, horse. Yeah, he's a really, I mean, he's a fiery and an intense coach, but at the same time, he's very personable. So after practice, sometimes he'll joke around and just shoot with you or whatnot. So yeah,
Okay, he actually tried to tell us drop like 500 pesos on the floor.
yeah. So he'll sometimes when the mood is weird, he'll try and get some guy put 500 pesos at the half court, and whoever hits it, you know. So
Okay, leading to this season, Sean. Okay, let's say that the season will start maybe in a month. Northport's chances. How far can you go in this All Filipino?
as far as we take ourselves, I think we have a great team, and for us, it's about putting us all together, right, and functioning as one, and hopefully the guys are healthy. And whatnot, and we hope to be playing for a championship if we can put it all together, right? So we're excited to get back into practice because hopefully we'll have all the pieces there and whatnot. Like I said, so we start the shooting stuff next week. So and then hopefully pray for everyone in the country that we all heal and get through this, and hopefully soon we can go into the full scrimmages and it's safe for everyone.
Okay, being teammates with Christian Stan Hardinger, but talk us about him coming to the team and the energy that he brings.
Well, he was hungry right away, right? So he came in with a little bit of fire and excitement, and he just wanted to play minutes and have a bigger role, and he works hard for sure. He's one of the first. You saw after we had the triple overtime game, I think he played a record 68 minutes, and he was the first person at Gila's practice the next day, right? Already working out. So his work ethic is admirable, and he's a great guy to have around on the team, and I look forward to playing with him and excited to see what he can do in like an all Filipino where he's going to be probably one of the biggest guys on the floor or the biggest guy on the floor most games.
And playing with Robert Bolick, him and Robert Bolick hasn't played together that much, and even you with them. I think when they were together, I think you were in the injured list. Am I right? Or
I was coming back from ankle surgery, so I wasn't there. Then I think I played one game with both of them, and then the San Miguel game where Robert got hurt, I had to rush to the emergency room to take care of a situation of a family member who had to go under emergency surgery that night. So I didn't play that game. But yeah, other than that, I think we had one game, and then I played with Christian in every other game after that.
okay, how would you compare this team right now with Powerade? I mean, does it have that shade? That's a Northport's an independent team, own team, but how do you see the similarities of the old Powerade to this Northport team right now?
Two different teams, two different personnel. You know what I'm saying? But I think we have that same fiery underdog mentality. So if teams don't respect us, we're going to come out and fight and show them that we can compete. But very different teams, right? We don't have that crazy explosive scorer like a Gary, right? But then we have someone with substantial size and a Christian, right? So it's two different teams, and I think one of the keys will be to have that same teamwork and camaraderie that we had at Powerade. And so, everyone here in Northwood, we try to build it up like a close bonds between all players and whatnot. Obviously, it's been hard. We're not allowed to be even in the same room. So, but we look forward to seeing each other all again on the court, hopefully next week, or the 4 guys in my cluster group.
Okay, final questions, Brian, Ivan.
I just have one question. I'll bring it back, Sean, to February 2019.
Mm-hmm.
This was that time when you were playing Phoenix. You were called for an offensive foul. I think you already know. He's laughing. And you lost the game. I mean, well, the PB admitted that there was an error there. But how did you take it? Does this game continue to haunt you until this day?
It doesn't haunt me to this day. I try to have a short memory, be it a big win or a big loss. Just try to have a short memory. Don't get too high, don't get too low. But looking back at that season, that was a huge turning point in that season. I think we had struggled and we lost a couple back-to-back games, and we needed a win, especially with Stanley being suspended that game because of what happened in the Kia scrimmage or whatnot. So we needed that win, and that shot was a game winner, and they took it back. And instead of going up 3 with a free throw to make it up 4, we're down, and they have the ball, and I got fouled out. The PB had admitted that it was the wrong call. The ref was fired, and whatnot. But that was definitely a big turning point in that season. Yeah, we could have used that game. That one win would have given us a position to be in a best-of-3 series rather than a twice-to-beat disadvantage against. I think we're the number 7. Okay, yeah, but still twice-to-beat disadvantage. It's just in an 11-game tournament, every single game counts. And yeah, I think after that, the morale was a little down, and we lost a couple more in a row, but then we turned it around to win the last 3 to make that last spot. But that would have been a big point in that season for sure.
Anyway, we will end with this, Sean. Who is your Mount Rushmore in the PBA?
Mount Rushmore in the PBA that I've played against.
Yeah.
That I've played against. Okay.
In the PBA.
That I've played against. I think I put RDO there. For sure, he was a huge part. Junmar, obviously, he's still in the league, and he's probably the GOAT of the league, right? Those 2. Jimmy Alapag, he's there. When I came in, James Yap was playing. He was 2-time MVP, and then he won those the Grand Slam and all those championships.
One more, bro. One more.
I know. I'm just thinking, because if I choose one, I'm eliminating so many others with the last. I think someone that's been consistent, and he's made a lot of the teams he's on great. He's a guy like L.A. Tenorio, right? Like he's been a leader in a lot of teams with the stuff he's on the national team as well. That.
So we got it.
I guess so. Yeah. There's so many great players that I feel like I should add like another.
You might get some phone calls after this. Why did you
I'm saying.
that Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. But I'm just thinking of guys like I've played against like some of the other like guys like a Danny Siegel, right? But when I came in, that was towards the second half of his career. But Danny Siegel was a huge part, unbreakable. Like he had a huge positive impact on my career as well. Stuff like but I'm just looking at like who was at the top of their careers while I was playing, right? So it's no different, right? Like you look when I came in, it was talk and text, and then the last few years it's been like the San Miguel with like June Mar
And with that, we end this show. And once again, we would like to thank our sponsor for this show. Again, that is MJ's Cafe Bar Catering and Events. The information is flashing right now in your screens. Just, Brian, gano'n ba kasarap to?
Masarap. Bakit ako di ba pinapasalamatan?
Ayun na nga eh. Kaya nga sinasabi ko nga sa iyo eh. Ano yung mga recommendation mo?
Basta, kaya ko ubusin sa isang upuan yan.
Itong carbonara?
Oo. It's just light.
And with that, this is another episode of Foul Counted. My name is Ernest Hernandez, together with Brian Yalung, Ivan Saldeno, and the rest of the PBA guys, PBA YouTubers, with Sean Anthony as our guest. It was a pleasure having you, and stay safe, buddy. And we end the show, and watch out for our next guest here at Foul Counted.
Thank you for watching. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified with our latest videos.